Hi, and welcome to the Geospatial podcast, the podcast about the amazing world of geospatial in Africa and around the world. I'm Yabon Benson, and I'll be your host. Geohazards are increasing across the world due to climate change and continue to cause displacement of people, the loss of lives and properties. Therefore, there is a need for a geohazard risk management perspective that incorporates people, environment, and technology. So in this episode, we'll be talking to Taiwo Ogunwumi, the president of Geohazard Risk Mapping Initiative, and how they are using geospatial information technology to help out in this area. Now, Geohazard Mapping Initiative is an NGO in Nigeria focused on promoting a sustainable environment through the development of flood risk management capabilities using geospatial information technology. Taiwo is a geospatial professional who specializes in using geospatial technology in disaster and vulnerability assessment, emergency planning, and for humanitarian response. So we'll be talking to him soon, and we'll also talk about how you can contribute to the cause through volunteering. So let's dive in. Hi Taiwo, welcome to the podcast, and thank you for taking out the time to be here. So I want to talk to you about how you and your team are using geospatial technology as an enabling technology to help communities and geohazard response organization to facilitate their hazard response, their management of these hazard events, and their preparedness. But before that, I believe that the listeners are keen to know about your background and to learn about what you've been doing. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself then?
Thank you very much. My name is Taiwo, and I'm a geospatial information management specialist who had worked in 3 different international non-governmental organizations that provide emergency response support to vulnerable communities in northeastern Nigeria. I presently occupy the position of a GIS consultant to the United Nations International Organization for Migration at the Nigerian mission. I had an academic background in geography and environmental risk, which made me to develop more interest in humanitarian activities, disaster risk reduction, and environmental sustainability. I was introduced to geospatial technology during my undergraduate studies, and after school, I decided to do some additional training and numerous online courses hosted by Esri, which is one of the global leaders of GIS softwares.
So why did you branch out, if I may use that term, to focus your expertise and apply your geospatial skill to the humanitarian sector?
Yes, many people always ask me, why GIS to humanitarian? Well, the number one reason was because my first official GIS position was with a humanitarian organization called Action Against Hunger. Through my support to the organization in creation of project maps, development of data collection survey tools, and managing the geospatial database infrastructures, I was able to discover the application of GIS to emergency response and to humanitarian project activities. Another reason was due to the fact that I realized that there are few gaps in the number of GIS professionals working in the field of humanitarian and disaster response. I see it as a big avenue to grow my career in the GIS in this particular field, and that was really what made me to specialize in GIS to humanitarian and disaster response.
Well, that's quite interesting, and I believe that we all have our, individual stories of how we, got into geospatial and just get on with the field. But another question I want to ask you is, what are really geohazards? What are they?
To simply put, geohazards are events caused by geological processes and features that are potentially dangerous or pose a level of threat to human life, health, properties, or to environmental resources. An example of geohazard can be earthquakes, landslide, and one of the most common one, which is flooding. However, it is very, very important that we should know that all these hazards, they are triggered as a result of the effect of climate change. The climate is changing and the impact is being felt at every part of the world currently.
I agree with you. I think climate change, it's something that should be talked about. And I think one other interesting thing is the fact that geospatial technology is also used to help to see these changes, not just what's happening now, but we can see the effect of climate change over time as well. And I think that's something that is really interesting. So let's talk a little bit about geohazard maps. Why are they important? What role do they play in all of this?
Geohazard maps are very crucial because they are useful for disaster preparedness, disaster mitigation, disaster response, and planning. Most importantly, they can be used as one of the hazard early warning tools. The hazard map helps to showcase the where and when a particular type of hazard might occur. And through these maps, natural hazards such as flooding and landslide can be prevented and avoided. And we can see an example of this in most of the advanced countries like United States, India, and some part of the Asia. Geohazard maps are being used to make a better preparedness for hazard as well as to mitigate hazard. Such examples are typhoons, tsunamis, and landslide. So you can see that the importance of a geohazard map it's very crucial, and it helps to make a better disaster preparedness.
Great. So we've talked about what geohazards are and how geohazard maps could help in preparedness and for early warnings and the likes. But I believe that GIT is really powerful. And would you mind talking us through which are the ways that it could be applied? Because I don't think you just stop with making maps and saying, oh yeah, this is going to happen here, this is the area is going to affect. But which other ways can it be applied, and what analysis could you carry out to aid these applications?
Geospatial information technology plays a very vital role during and after hazard events, and I'll give some good example. With the use of remote sense datasets, you can assess the location of the affected population, identify the types and amount of damaged properties. We call this damage assessment map, and it can be used by emergency responders to know the best route to locate the disaster scene and provide appropriate rescue. Another power of GIS is the capability to crowdsource information from the public in real time. The public can give reports on pictures and location of damaged properties, which can be viewed through a dashboard and several other reporting tools. And all these are possible through the capability of GIS technology.
Yeah, true. And I think it's interesting to see that the technology is not just used in making maps, but it is used to make informed decisions and to help facilitate quick recovery from these situations. And I think one interesting thing is the impact that open data has. I mean, in March there was a celebration of the Open Data Day, and I think that was interesting. And to see different organizations actually giving out data, working together to make data available for humanitarian response and the like, I think it's really good. For example, what HOT OSM is doing, missing maps and other amazing organizations, and I think that's a good thing because it helps to put out data out there so that different humanitarian organizations can use to help out in difficult situations. And I think just being a part of that is one way that we as GIS professionals, right, contributing our quota is one way we contribute to making a better world, and I think that's amazing. So let's go over now to GRMI, right, the initiative. Or what is GRMI, and why did you and your partner decide to start this initiative? What problem were you trying to solve? Why did you come up with this idea to start this initiative?
GRMI is called Geohazards Risk Mapping Initiative. So GRMI was established September 2020, and our major focus was to see how we can transform Nigeria ahead of the next flood, or let's say ahead of the next rainy season in 2021. The initiative centrally focused on deploying volunteer youths who are skilled at using geographic information system and satellite image analysis to create maps indicating flood accessibility and other forms of geohazard that may occur within different locations in Nigeria and Africa at large. And the reason why we decided to start it up is three reasons basically, and I will mention the first one. The first one is to contribute to the achievement of one of the 7 targets of Sendai framework for disaster reduction, which states that we need to substantially increase the availability and access to multi-hazard early warning system and disaster risk reduction and assessment to people by 2030. Another reason is to contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goal 11 and Goal 13. Goal 11 states sustainable cities and community, and Goal 13 is all about climate action. One of the most important reasons is that we realized that during the year 2020, there were numerous flood events in various states in Nigeria, and we see that the national and the state emergency agency and institutions, they are making a lot of effort to address the impact of flooding, and we realize that it is very important to see how we can support the institution, government ministries with better early warning maps for flooding, where flood can occur and where and when they might occur. We believe that if this provision is being made to the national and the state emergency institution, they can be able to do the best to reduce flood impact in 2021.
So could you maybe talk us through the process and what data sets you utilize to carry out your analysis?
We adopt two things, that is remote sensing and GIS, to achieve most of our goal. We use remote sense data, and as well we use geospatial software to achieve the goal of making flood maps. We adopt the use of rainfall data, which are mostly being sourced from Nigeria Meteorological Agency. We also use data elevation data sets, which is more of remote sensing. We also use water body information, that is rivers, for instance. And also land use data sets are being used, although we generate this majorly from Sentinel. Sentinel data are data from the Copernicus, and we all know how this is very, very powerful. Although it's a free imagery, but yet it's very, very well refined. Also, we consider building data sets also to be able to understand the buildings and infrastructures that may be susceptible to flooding. All these data are being imported into the ArcGIS software for further multi-criteria analysis, which lead to the final production of flood sensibility map showing different level of risk to flooding that may occur at different areas that we are trying to study, basically.
So what is multi-criteria analysis? Could you try and elaborate on that for a while and take us through what that involves and why it is important or relevant to the production of the final output?
Yes, to simply put, multi-criteria, just like the word multiple criteria analysis, means that it's the combination of those variables that I mentioned earlier, that is dataset variables, that is the rainfall, the data elevation, the land use cover maps, considering all together in a geospatial software, overlaying them to see places that are susceptible to flooding. And I need to tell you this, that multi-criteria is a method, and when you look at GIS have up 5 components, that is hardware, software, method, people, and data. So the multi-criteria part of it is a concept under method, whereby people are the geospatial analysts who are working for the initiative, mostly volunteer, and the software is the GIS software, ArcGIS, or the open source software, which is QGIS, and the hardware are our computers. So multi-criteria is one of the basic concepts of methods that can be used to map out flooding.
You were basically saying, like, given the technology, the tools, and the data set, so the key is trying to use the right method or workflow to extract the right information from this data set, to use that to now plan or to manage or to make informed decisions based on the analysis that's been carried out on this data. Is that true?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so let's talk about your operations, right? I want to take you back to something you said. You talked about, carrying out analysis for geohazards in Nigeria for the most part. Does that mean you're just focused in Nigeria, or do you have plans of expanding your outreach to other African countries, or what's the plan?
Yes, at this moment, we are currently providing support to Nigeria. Although in upcoming years, we plan to expand to neighboring African countries to see how we can also support most of the institutions and governments of other neighboring African countries. But for now, we tend to build more ground and to see how we can develop Nigeria more, and to see how we can minimize risk by supporting the national government who are in charge of emergency management.
Okay, so I think the listeners in other part of Africa would be looking forward to when you will actually reach out to that area, when you expand to those areas. And I think one way that this could be facilitated is through partnerships. You could partner with other organizations to see how you can increase your reach. And I think so. Let's talk about the team. You did mention at some point that a greater part of the team is made up of volunteers, and I believe that you have had experience volunteering yourself to different organizations. What do you think is the benefit of volunteering in general? That through given your experience, right? What is the benefit, and how is that important in building one's career?
Yes, you're absolutely right. Despite the fact that I'm the president of Geohazard Mapping Initiative, I'm also a volunteer to several other GIS organizations. And the reason is because volunteerism always exposed me to new skills. It gave me an avenue to build more network, and the majority of them have even enhanced me to have new collaboration. So just like you have mentioned, at a very, very youthful time, it's very, very good to volunteer, particularly towards things that are in your career path. They tend to build you and expose you more.
I completely agree with you. I think that volunteering is a great way to contribute to the cause that we care about, and to help out in different ways. And apart from that, it is a way to learn. That is because there's always the opportunity to grow and to learn from different people with different backgrounds. And imagine being in a team that has people with different skill sets, different experiences, or years of experiences in the field, and that you're walking in. I think that's an avenue to network with them and to learn from experts in the field as well, who are actually part of that team. I mean, for me, I volunteered for some organizations, and I think it's been a good experience for me. I would say that, and I think it's always fun as well, just being able to deliver tasks and help out mapping. It's really fun. I think that's one of the things that that's part of volunteering. You get to have a lot of fun as well. So say a listener is interested in volunteering to the initiative, how would they go about that? Way can they find information that is going to help them to know the next step in applying for that role? And secondly, do you accept volunteers from around the world, or is it just people from Nigeria that could apply to volunteer to the initiative?
To volunteer for Geohazard Risk Mapping Initiative, the first step is to visit the initiative website, which is www.georiskmap.org. From the site, you can get information on the email address to contact and other application process. However, the initiative welcomes in so many much more volunteers who want to contribute to reduce flooding risk in Nigeria and other type of geohazard. We accept volunteers from every part of the world, not just Nigeria alone, because we believe in advanced knowledge. And as a matter of fact, anybody coming from every part of the world come with several experience, several exposure. So we are not limited to just nationals of Nigeria alone. We are open to several GIS professionals, upcoming young GIS professionals who really want to use their skills to see how they can impact the society, who really want to use their GIS skills to see how they can contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goal, and how they can use their skill to mitigate hazard and reduce hazard impacts.
All right, thank you for that. I'm going to add the link to the website on the show notes so that the listeners who might want to check that out would be able to do so. So what do you think is the future of the application of GIT in disaster management and response, given the advancement in geospatial technology?
Well, I am confident to say that the application of geospatial technology in disaster and emergency management is on the rise. And this is due to its level of accessibility, reliability, and effectiveness in providing accurate predictions and models of various types of geohazard. What is more is that the new integration of data science and machine learning with GIS, we hope to see more application and better prediction model that can be used in mitigating and reducing disasters.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really interesting. So any other thoughts, anything you might want to share with the geospatial community? Maybe there might be students listening who are trying to think about, if this is a field for me, is this something I want to do? How do I get better at this? Maybe you have a few thoughts for them.
One of my best advice to anyone working in the geospatial sector is that you need to keep yourself abreast of new skills. The sector changes almost every day because there are always new developments and new software updates. So it's very crucial that you are up to your game by learning those new methods and procedure. No matter what it might take, just make sure you create time to learn more. Also, if you are new to the geospatial sector or you are still in the graduate school studying geography, GIS, or related course, my advice for you is to spend time to do some free online courses, attend GIS workshops, network with those who are experts in the field, and volunteer for related GIS projects. I believe taking all these steps will give you the chance to get international opportunities and related GIS jobs.
That's really inspiring. So finally, if someone wanted to reach out to you or contact you for whatever reason, how can they reach you?
The best platform to contact me will be via my LinkedIn, or you can send me a direct message on my Twitter. However, you can search my name, Taiwo that's initial, Ogunwumi, or you can check me up via my personal website, that's taiwoogunwumi.com.
Thank you so much, Taiwo, for being here today. I did have a very great conversation.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I hope the listeners too did learn something, one or two things from my conversation. And to those that might be interested in volunteering, the links to the website and other information you might need are going to be there on the show notes, so you be sure to check that out, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Geospatially podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Gspatially, or just search for the Geospatially podcast. We'd love to get your feedback, so do want to send us an email at gspatially@gmail.com, and we'll get in touch.